Hey everybody, it's Joric. Welcome back to Portugal and Beyond. I hope you're having a great day. Today I wanted to give you a video about my experiences, more of a review, the pros and cons of using TAP Portugal, which is the national airline for Portugal. I recently did a video on the airports on mainland Portugal, and several of you were responding with comments or sent me emails asking if I could do a review or what my experiences were with TAP Portugal. So that's why I'm making the video. So thanks to you for giving me this suggestion. First things first, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe for more content about Portugal and Europe, our travel, as well as European travel news. If you are returning to the channel, thank you for doing that. So, TAP Portugal, they've been around since 1945, been around a long time. In recent years, much like many airlines, due to what's gone on with the pandemic, they're in financial trouble. They've received multiple bailouts through the years through the government of Portugal as well as European Union to be able to make sure that they're still running. And they're really the only national airline that Portugal has. So we have used them often. We have over 50 flights as a sample size for me to give you on our flight to and from the US, within Portugal, and within or throughout Europe, I'll say. So lots of experience to go and give you, so let's get to it. So first things first, you're looking for a website, you're looking to book a flight, sorry about that. You're trying to figure out, you want to get from Lisbon to someplace, or you want to go to Portugal and you live in San Francisco or Chicago or London, and you go to TAP's website. I will say, if you don't log in and you're not a member, meaning you're not trying to log in and get your account information, you're just scanning it, making a reservation without giving anything, any data, any financial information, just looking for flights, it's an okay website. Now, anything above that, it's terrible. In fact, atrocious might be the best way I could describe it. Oftentimes, if you're looking to make a reservation, adding in your credit card information, it will freeze up. It'll drop your flight, so you have to go back and redo the flights several times and then add in your credit card information. Sometimes even after you do that, the credit card information doesn't take, and then you have to start from square one with the reservation again. If you're a member, meaning you're logging in to get your reservation data, your TAP number, if you will, to add to flight details and with your bookings, it's even worse trying to get information because you get kicked out. It'll go to a completely different language. So whether I'm using Portuguese or English, it may go to something completely different, Italian, and there's no reason for that. The website, they've never spent money on it. So just to let you know, to manage your expectations, the website is not great. It's bad. Using the TAP app, so if you're looking for the app, it's just as bad. So the digital platforms that they use, trying to create a booking, make a reservation, doing so on the app, even getting things like flight status on things, it's terrible. It often is outdated. It will not give you updated information on where your flight's going, what's going on with the gate, if there's a delay. It's other than maybe getting your boarding pass and putting it into your wallet on your phone, using the app is terrible. Also, using customer service, so calling in when you have an issue or you have a problem or you have a voucher that you need to redeem, flight credit or something, getting a hold of them. We've had to make maybe 30 or 40 phone calls in the last 2.5, 3 years since we've been in Portugal. Every one of them is no less than 45 minutes, and some have been 2 to 3 hours long. So this initial step of just getting to know TAP and trying to search for flights, make reservations, and having customer service issues, big thumbs down. There's just no way around it. It's terrible. I don't think that I'm going to come across too many people that say that it's even pleasant. So next, the check-in process. So if you're doing it online, you get the notification going, hey, it's time to check in, either online or you choose to do it at the airport if you're checking bags, things like that. That, I will say, is pretty streamlined. They will give you the notification. You just have to put in your booking number and your last name. Recently, through the pandemic, you've had to give them your COVID documentation or your test documentation to be able to get your boarding pass. Now, whether you do that online or at the airport, I got to be honest, I'm going to give them a thumbs up because I think it's been no different than other airlines. We've had hassles and issues with other airlines, so I can't say TAP Portugal's any worse or any better. It's sort of average. It's an okay experience. Let's get to the next one, ticketing process. So you're online, you go through that, I already hit. It's very time consuming. It's tense. Have a glass of wine or a cocktail because you'll be stressed and frustrated, and you may go, gosh, if this is their online experience, what's their flight experience? I'll get to that. That's something actually very different. But at airports, most airports, all the airports actually in Portugal will have kiosks where you can get your information, get your boarding pass. That way, if you need to get in line to check baggage, or if you cannot book online, or check in online because your documents aren't up to date or correct, or they want to verify your vaccination documents or your recovery certificate or your test or your passport, any of those reasons that you have to get in line, I will say the lines in Portugal are pretty smooth. And I will say in the US and UK, we've had really good experience. Things seem to move fast. In other destinations in Europe, so going through the TAP line and then having to come from, let's say, Rome or Barcelona or Malaga here, the lines have been a little longer, but I will say they still move fairly fast and no faster or slower than other airlines. In fact, I can think of numerous other airlines that are terrible in that area. So if you're using the kiosk and you're able to get a boarding pass through that, if you're able to go online and get your boarding pass, as we get through the pandemic, more of us will be able to get it that way versus having to actually verify documents in person. Or if you're checking luggage at the airport and you have to go through the ticket counter through that, I have to give them, it's not too shabby. It's a pretty good experience, and I would say it's no different than most other airlines. I can't think of really any horror stories at this particular process. So I think in this case, it's pretty good. So next, the boarding process. How do I say this nicely? The boarding process is a challenge because for various reasons. First things first, when they get ready to call you up, they put you into lines. In Portugal, they're good about having a priority lane and then ABC, which should match your ticket, ABC lanes. Now, oftentimes it's priority and economy free-for-all. Especially if you're outside Portugal, many of the TAP Portugal flights do not use A, B, and C. In fact, many, it was just, here's the flight, and first come, first serve. So it didn't matter whether you were in first class or you had priority or you were probably the last person booked on the plane. You just have a cattle call, and whoever shows up first gets on the plane first. There isn't really any rhyme or reason. In Portugal, they do a better job of having it parted out by priority A, B, and C. Now, what will drive you nuts are what I call the luggage checkpoints. So sometimes before they board the plane, there'll be someone from the gate that will go around and check luggage, and they'll either put something on your backpack or your carry-on to say that it's good to go. Sometimes they will do a spot check and they'll ask you to weigh it. Sometimes they'll size it up and say that's too big, you're going to have to check that. They'll do it for free, so that's good. But there are many times that, well, recently we've had situations where we have, I'll call it European size carry-on luggage, and we bought it specifically so that we can get it on any plane. We get it onto turboprop planes as well as Airbuses and Boeing Airlines. So it works for very small aircraft, it works for very big aircraft. We recently went to Rome, we were in Lisbon, and they, after we got our boarding pass checked, so we weren't out in the concourse area, we're actually in the jetway, somebody went through and said, well, we got to check the bags. The flight's full and all of the overhead luggage is taken. So I counted the jetway. I was the 16th person on the plane, and I'm showing you a photo of what the overhead bin space looked like. So I would say that that was absolutely ridiculous. It's not the only time it's happened, but it's very frustrating, especially when you have luggage that can go in and you're close enough in the front of the plane to where, I get it, if you're the last on the plane, you should have an expectation that you should be lucky to have any luggage space up top. But when you're in the first quarter of the plane, shouldn't be an issue. This is more common, and I'll say with TAP more than any other airline, which doesn't make any sense. But oftentimes look for, when you're in the jetway or you're getting ready to load on a bus, because sometimes you take the shuttle to the airplane as opposed to the jetway, they will check your luggage and it will be within the size limits, and you don't have any, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just, it is what it is. And there's no rhyme or reason. It's not like you're the last on the plane. You could be the first on the plane and they're checking it. You could be priority and they're checking it. That will drive you nuts. Drives us nuts because we bought the luggage specifically so that we didn't have to go through the baggage carousel at the end of the flight. So that one is one of those that's a big thumbs down. It's happening more often, oddly enough. It was fine through the first few years of using them, even before we moved here, but we found specifically through the pandemic, and we've flown multiple legs of trips in 2022, leaving Portugal, that's more of an issue than it is coming back. So for example, we just went to Italy. Leaving, we're in the jetway, we have to book or check our luggage just before we literally got on the plane. Took the same plane back, no issues, nobody asked, nobody checked anything. So just no rhyme or reason. So that will be stressful for you. Now, let's get to departures and arrivals. So you're on the plane and you're ready to go, or you're getting ready to board. 75% of our flights, so I think technically we've been on 52 flights so far, so it doesn't matter whether you're coming or going from Portugal, 75% of those flights have been delayed, and they're delayed anywhere from a half hour to 60 minutes. And I can't tell you it's any different in 2017 versus 2021 versus 2022. Doesn't matter what airport, for whatever reason, they're always running late. And this is what doesn't make any sense to me, is that we flew often during the pandemic. There's 15 or 20 people on a airliner that's supposed to have 150 people on it. So they're still boarding late, leaving late. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I don't understand the logistics of it. But TAP, one of the things that you will find if you're looking for ratings of airlines, on-time departures, arrivals, they're in the bottom third of any airline on the planet. So this is important. If you book with TAP and you have a connecting flight and it's a tight time frame, you may be really stressing and you may have to rebook because you're going to miss that connection. We found out the hard way. Before we moved here, for the first few years, we were using TAP and didn't have any issues, but then we came across a tight timeline. We missed our connecting flight due to a delay. And then we realized that that's day-to-day business with TAP. So unfortunately, when it comes to leaving and getting to a place on time, especially if it's a direct flight and you have no connections, we can live with that. When you have a connecting flight and it causes you to have to rebook or push your future flights, your connecting flights back hours or days to your final destination, that's a big downer. And I think I think I'm being fair there because, again, we have a lot of flights and they almost all seem to be delayed. So let's get to in-flight experience. You're on the plane, gone through the safety checks, you're actually moving. So you're in the jetway, if you've gone through the jetway or you've taken a shuttle through the plane and the plane's actually moving, going out to the runway, you're taxiing. That experience, I am going to say 2 thumbs up. The flight attendants, very friendly. The pilots giving you what's going on at the destination. Oftentimes they'll tell you about mountain ranges or historical sites, cities, markers that you're flying over. I think that's really good. The flight options are for food and drink are very limited, as are most airlines these days, so they're no different than that. I would highly recommend grab some food and take it with you on the plane. because other than maybe some M&Ms, some breadsticks, and maybe a cheese board, there's not a lot to choose from there. So grab some food and take it with you. I'd say that about any airline these days. So once you're in the air, I think it's a great experience. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I give them 2 thumbs up. I think once they're off the ground, that experience with TAP is as good as any. I think people, like I said, flight attendants are friendly. The places are clean. You know what you're getting into, whether it be a priority seat. They have some of the airline seats are reclinable to a certain degree. Some aren't. You know exactly what you're getting and what you're paying for. So that experience in flight, I think, is good. So let's get to you've landed. So now, as I mentioned earlier, kind of baggage carousel. If you need to check bags, what's that like? Also connecting flights. So let's get to baggage carousels. People have had really good experience and really bad experiences with TAP. We haven't had many experiences at all. We've had to check bags, as I mentioned, our recent Italy trip. Within 15 minutes, the bags came out. In fact, in one case, it was 10 minutes. Actually, it was less than 15 minutes. So I also don't put that on the airline. I put that on the airport. So if you have to wait an hour for bags, I don't necessarily blame any airline for that. I kind of blame the airport operations for taking so long to get the bags to you. So information and service for getting you to connecting flights. So as I mentioned, you're going to have delays 50% of the time. So I'd say about half of the flights that we've been on, there has been someone in the jetway, or the moment you get into the airport, kind of that concierge area right by the gate, there will be someone that will take your question and point you in the direction for the right gate for the connecting flight. Or if you're new into the country and you have to go through passport control, immigration, they'll tell you how to get there to get to your connecting flight. So that's half the time. About the other half, you just have to look for signs and figure it out on your own. So I will say that that's very similar and typical of experiences using many different airlines throughout Europe as well as in the US. So I give that a thumbs up. I say it's on average with everything else. So that's my review, or my pros and cons, if you will, my thumbs up, thumbs down of TAP Portugal. I would say, again, in flight, when you're off the ground, it's a good airline. It's a good place to be. Everything leading up to it isn't that great. I mean, trying to get a ticket, and you will probably look at other airlines, British Airways, EasyJet, Ryanair, other discount airlines, other airlines, Lufthansa. You will most likely at some point say, I need to go to another airline. And it doesn't matter what browser or what type of phone you have. It's all browsers, all phones. As they're getting all this bailout money from the EU and from the government of Portugal, they need to put something in infrastructure, meaning the digital platform, because it's not user-friendly, and it's something that before you even fly TAP, you end up choosing another airline. So again, that's my review, 52 flights later. I hope you can use this. I hope some of this is good for you, some not. Please leave a comment one way or the other. If you've had nothing but great experience or nothing but bad, or you have information that you can give subscribers, please put it in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for checking out my channel, and enjoy your travels. Hey, thanks so much for watching the full video. If you get a chance, and if you're interested in reading some crazy workplace stories, please check out my 2 books, Magnet of Madness Volume 1 and Volume 2, both available on Amazon in ebook or softcover. If you want to make fun of me, there's plenty of stories where you can do that. If you want to make yourself feel better about the job that you're in, it'll make you feel better too. But crazy stuff that happened over 30 years, you won't believe it until you read it. So thank you so much for watching. And if you get a chance, pick up a copy of one of these on Amazon. Thank you so much.